Hey, what's going on, guys? Knight here. Gonna do my best to give you the basics of how to create a dedicated server for Insurgency Sandstorm. So, without further ado, let's kind of dive right into this. What we're gonna need is this link, the server admin guide, um, and I will be sending this along with the video to the Discord so you can have a good point of reference. I would highly recommend bookmarking it because you will be referencing back to it quite a bit. Um, First thing you're going to need here is these two redistributables. You got to download both of those. Once you've confirmed both of those are downloaded, you're also going to need to download Steam CMD. Now, um, after you have Steam CMD downloaded, it is a unzip file. So you're going to need to go find your Steam library. For me, that's very simple because I know right where it is. It's all on one dedicated drive. But either way, this is what you need to go find on your rig. You're going to open it up, go to Common, and I can't remember, you may or may not need to create this folder called Sandstorm Server. It might be here already, I'm not sure. But either way, inside here is where you're going to unzip Steam CMD. Once you have that unzipped, you're going to open it. And once you've opened it, you're going to type login anonymous. You're going to wait for it to say OK. And then app underscore update 581330 validate. And then you're going to hit enter. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up my server in any way, especially with how touchy it's been lately. But either way, when you do that, it's going to essentially download and launch a dedicated server for you. But it's going to take a while. It's quite a long download, especially if you've never done it before. So let it do its thing, let it finish up, and then it'll come back with another line that says Steam with the cursor blinking blank right next to it. Uh, so once you've seen it go through its update and it's all finished, uh, you're going to type quit and then hit enter, and that'll exit out of this. Um, it's going to yell at me here because it doesn't like it that I'm exiting this way, but that's okay. Once you've done that, uh, the rest of this stuff should be unpacked if it's not already. You're going to go into Steam Apps, Common. This guy should be here, Sandstorm underscore server. If it's not, then something went wrong and you may have to restart. Once you open that up, you're going to have everything that you see here with the exception of this file, start.bat. You're going to have to create that. And the way you do so is you create a new text document. Oh, excuse me. And you'll just label it start.bat. And you're going to get this warning message here. The file might become unusable. You should want to change it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not going to do it because I already have one. Um, but that's what you want to see, and it's gonna when you hit yes and you go forward, it's gonna create a file that looks like that. And this is gonna be your command line. So you're gonna hit edit. I'm gonna full screen this for you guys. So here's gonna be your command line. Um, Mine has quite a bit of stuff. A lot of this GSLT token and game stats token and stuff, you don't need to worry about that right now. That's for making the server give out XP, and you can find instructions for that later. Now we're just going to be showing you the basics of creating the server. So if you want a basic command line to get started and don't feel like typing all of it in, you can come here and right down here, you can just copy and paste all this and then just change the things that you need to once it's pasted into your start.bat file. So um, there's a few things in that basic command line that it doesn't have. For example, it's not calling for a time of day, doesn't have a password or anything like that. So uh, this is kind of like the basics of what you need for a more custom server, if you will. Uh, so another thing they don't tell you very well in the NWI's version of this video is you do need to have question marks after all of these things in order to interrogate the server so it knows to operate it like that. Uh, Next thing you're going to be worrying about is port forwarding. So this uh, is what you need it to read here. Dash port equals 27102 and dash query port equals 27131. And then you're going to go do port forwarding. I'm not going to get into that because that's something you're going to kind of have to figure out on your own because everybody's router is different. And how you port forward on different routers can vary quite a bit. But once you figure that out and you have it forwarded to these ports, you also need to create a pinhole in your firewall so that you don't get your server doesn't jam you up. You're gonna type Windows-R and you're gonna type in wf.msc to get to your firewall settings, and that's gonna bring up this page here. You're gonna click Inbound Rules. You're gonna do New Rule, select Port, and now when you first pull this up, I believe it's going to say all local ports. You want to select specific local ports, and you put it in this order, 27102, 27131. And it doesn't particularly matter if you have this selected as TCP or UDP because you're going to have to do both. But you're going to go next, and then you're going to say allow the connection. I'm not going to go forward anymore because I've already got this done. But you're going to just kind of follow along, allow the connection. And when it's all said and done, I think you can even rename it, and I did. Yep, I sure did. It's Sandstorm server is what I ended up naming mine. And this is kind of what you want it to look like. 27102 and 27131 under UDP. And then here's another one, second rule, that's under TCP. So that's creating that little pinhole in your firewall to allow the server to operate correctly. Let me think here. Next thing I'm going to show you is some basic server configuration, because the way this guy is set up initially is to run through all PvP scenarios, and we want to make it a little more custom, right, to only be security and checkpoint. So how you do that is we're going to come back here to this Sandstorm underscore server, and we're going to go into Insurgency, and you're going to go, you're going to have to create this folder called config. And then inside that, you're going to create another folder that's going to be called server. And inside there, you'll create your mapcycle.txt document. So you'll create a new document and name it mapcycle.txt. When you open that up, you can copy and paste what you want. So I've copy and pasted all the maps with checkpoint security. File and save. And then we're going to go, once you've done that, you're going to come back to your command line and you're going to need to reference it. So I put dash mapcycle equals mapcycle.txt. That's a bit of a redundancy, I believe, but I don't think you necessarily need to do that. I just chose to do it because I know it works. So because then on the flip side of that, I've also got message of the day, and it knows to reference my message of the day file, which is right here within the same folder. So uh, that's some that's how you get your map cycle running. If you want a quick reference and don't want to type all of those in, you can come back here under scenario list and you can copy and paste all of these. Scenario BAB checkpoint security, Citadel checkpoint security, and on and on and on. So after that, one of the final things I'm going to show you is some additional server configuration. So like how I have it as 20-minute checkpoints, for example, and extra supplies. We're gonna, starting from here, we're gonna go Insurgency. You may have to create this folder, I can't quite remember, but either way you need one that's called saved. And then you'll have to create one called config within here. And then you'll have to create another folder called Windows Server, and it needs to be in here just like this, because otherwise it won't work. I don't know why, but make it just so. And within here, you're going to create two text documents. One of them you're going to name game.ini, and another one you're going to name engine.ini. Engine.ini you really only need to worry about if you're going to be getting into modding. I have it still in the event that I ever do figure that out one day, but game.ini is what we're really going to be concerned with. That's what's going to be our configurations. So here is how I have the checkpoints set up to have 20 minutes. And you can find these things on Google if you just Google like certain scripting you need. You may be able to find it back here on the server admin guide, but I'm not positive. But either way, these things are pretty easy to find just by a simple Google search. So this is how I have it set up, and then you're just gonna save it, and that's your server configuration. So coming back here, now let's go. You know what? Excuse me. One final thing. When we're looking at your command line, you'll notice that it says mountain question mark, and then scenario is summit. So summit is what we know as the player. We know that map as summit, but some of these scenarios have alternate names. In this case, summit, its alternate name is mountain. So at the beginning of your command line, you need to reference the alternative name, and then have the scenario labeled as summit, the real name for it. So outside of that, if you don't see an alternative name, like for precinct, for example, if that was going to be the starting map, I could just have it say precinct here, and then scenario is precinct checkpoint security. But that is just something worth noting. Yeah, I guess last but not least, I'll go ahead and launch the server so you guys can see exactly what that is supposed to look like and how you're supposed to launch it when it's all said and done. So I created a shortcut on my desktop so I can always just get back here quickly, but you're gonna need this start.bat file. You have to launch Insurgency Sandstorm, let it load. Alright, let the game get loaded up here. Freaking weird, I don't know why it does that. Okay, so once you're here on the main menu, you're gonna pull this up and you're just gonna double click start.bat, and that is going to run through here. And this is what you're looking for. On create session complete, game session result is 1. For some reason, sometimes it'll come up with some yellow text and it'll say like not created or something like that, but you can still find it within the community servers. So if you get that error message, it doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't work. But so double check anyway, right? I've got it set to favorites, but there it is, spike unit, checkpoint summit. The first time you do it, obviously it won't be set, so you'll have to search whatever server, and I would just have all this stuff selected too. So there it is, and even when I searched it, it came up. So final note here, if there is something jacked up on your command line, then like let's say for example I set this for Summit, or I was trying to set it for Summit, but I came in here and something's messed up and it says that it's Farmhouse and like 0 out of 32 players, that's an indicator that you've got something messed up on your command line, because that's what the server defaults to when it's got something wrong. So if you see that and you know you set it for a different map, you need to go back and double check your command line. You got something wrong there. Anyway, that's kind of the basics. I think I've covered it about as good as I can. If you guys have any additional questions, please feel free to ask and I'll do my best to help you.